I'm human. And I admit, oftentimes, and people send me links to other people's YouTubes. And how is it that some people get so many views? Some people that are saying the exact same thing that I have said. I'm not going to mention the woman's name. I don't know her. But somebody sent me her channel and she's got 50,000 views on a video the second she puts it out. 514,000 subscribers. And I'm like, wow. Christian woman believes the judgment of God is imminent on this country. Believes that this leadership that we've got is the direct result of the consequences of our decadence and hedonism and on and on. And I confess, there's no way to get around it that God is going to judge us, but not just us, but the whole world. And I asked myself, how does this woman get so many views on a video? I mean, I admit I've never really fit in with any one group of persons, or groups, I should say, period. My videos are very informal. I mean, you're not going to meet a guy like me talking like me. You got a spectrum on YouTube. You've got Pandora the Eclectic, which, no offense, she blasted me. This was years ago, and it's not about bitterness, but she doesn't have great oratory or articulation skills, but she has a following. Obviously, people like to listen to her. I had a following until the trolls got involved. And granted, some of the trolls' comments were, wow, you know, you call yourself a Christian and you got pictures of scantily clad women and, you know, the sordid fling with Maharani, the online interest I had in a gal in Melbourne. You run a risk when you put yourself out there. Am I just another washed up beached whale? Perhaps. Do I have any points to make? I struggle. I struggle every day. I question why I'm here. I'm a Christian. I know the intellectual answer. But as far as having an impact, a sledgehammer impact on the world around me, no. If anything, I've noticed, it seems that no matter who I get into contact with, to quote a YouTuber, I don't believe she's there anymore. I think she pulled her channel. I think it was Deshaya Coleman. She said I was a lightning rod. And that's true, and I don't try to be. But it seems like whoever I get close to, whoever I work with, there seems to be a friction, like the clutch isn't engaging. And I've often asked myself, is it me? Is it me? Is it me? I don't think I'm perfect. In fact, I know I'm not. But when I look at YouTube artists, and I try to be objective, it's easy for me to look at them and say, oh, well, you know, and I don't want to get into that. I'm going to put them down to build myself up. This woman has a lot of views, first and foremost, because she's female. She's not bad looking. Let me say something. I've watched social media for years, and I've seen it in my own self. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian. It doesn't matter if you're non-Christian. If you're a good-looking woman, I'm going to notice you. Most men are going to notice you, and a whole lot of women are going to notice you now, because women today are attracted to beautiful women, not just in a lesbian sense, but just in general. And granted, some of the content that this woman is talking about is not going to appeal to the GHETTO culture out there. They're not going to listen to my stuff. They're not going to listen to her stuff. And people said, you could propel your channel. I don't believe I could. I'd have to have a studio. There'd be a whole lot of things I'd have to do, but I still don't believe that would happen. And what's interesting is she talks about feminism and this and that. They'll listen to her. Oh, yeah, you're right. And I was thinking about one that I talked about this week in Wyoming. He's got a huge following. And I noticed something. And in fact, I noticed on this woman's channel, and I noticed on this other gentleman's channel. And I agree with a lot of his videos, but I noticed something. I look at the comments, and I see the same reoccurring theme with every single one of these big hit YouTubers. And it is this. Oh, you're so right. Oh my gosh, I've got to listen to all your videos. Yes, every single comment. Every single one. It's like if you were going to do the Yelp reviews, it's going to get 5 stars all the time. Now, I need to be careful. She has a video titled "The Church in the U.S. is Dying." I've said that for years. You got mega churches that are attracting a bunch of superficial people that are a mile wide and an inch deep. And you got these poor little country churches that they're going to attract the same people, and a lot of them really aren't going to grow or change. And you got a lot of churches where the same older crowd goes there. Some of them are nice, but you're not reaching the younger generation. The younger generation is off the rails. She can do a video like that and get 41,000 views. Boom, right now. I do a video like that. 11, 20, 30. Is our society more willing to listen to a woman when she speaks versus a man? Is that it? Do I have completely offensive ways about me that nobody wants to listen? I don't know. When I had my formal YouTube channel, I attracted a hodgepodge of people. Most of them not professionals. Most of them not suit and tie people. This one's got a patriotic title in her YouTube name. So she's going to connect with flag-waving Americans. And then what she does is going to connect her with the medical community. I'm not against that. But I've said this for years. I sometimes have taken shots at Dr. Charles Stanley and all of those guys. When I became a Christian, I listened to Chuck Swindoll. I listened to Dr. David Jeremiah. I listened to Stanley. I listened to, what's his name? The Southern guy, and I think he's dead now. He was good. But I noticed something over the years. I heard Christians get on this, let's erect a statue. Let's erect a statue. And by that, I mean, you got to go to this, like Beth Moore. Oh, you got to go to Beth Moore. You got to go to Women of Faith. Oh, you got to listen to Lucy Swindoll. Oh, you got to listen to this. And I begin to notice something. Is that right that we do this? Is it right that we do this form of hero worship? Pedestalizing church saints because God has gifted them with an ability to discern and to talk about issues. And people immediately rush to put them on a pedestal, and there's a big danger there. I'm going to say something. Jesus Christ had a large following too. But where he differentiated himself is he turned right around and looked people in the eye and said, the only reason you're following me is you ate at the loaves and were filled. You're looking for signs and wonders. These people that have their followers are not going to do that. They're not going to tell them the truth that's going to make them run from him or her. And I told you, I've done enough social media observation with an Asian woman could be in the shower, nothing on, the camera stops right here, got her shaven, clean armpits up in the air, and shaving, and, she's talking about, I'm like, this has got this many views. And whatever she was talking about was nothing of any. I'm thinking, okay, there's a whole bunch of guys here hoping the camera drops so you can see some boobies. And I've noticed that. Now you got more and more women coming on, and YouTube has changed the playing field. Pacific Ocean, Asia was the first to come out and be so blatantly honest about my own flaws, my own struggles. And that caused problems. You put yourself in jeopardy by being so transparent. And I notice when you look at a lot of these YouTube stars, even if they're Christians, even if they have good content, they will not be very transparent about everything inside of themselves. That drawbridge is up in the up position. Don't kid yourself. And I've said it before, a lot of Americans are comfortable with people that know how to play the game. With people, they'll talk about issues, but they won't talk about themselves. My channel attracted people that were atheists, it attracted people that smoked pot, it attracted people that were way out there. It also attracted people like a Walmart greeter and a guy that worked in a college cafeteria. And it attracted a lot of people. And a lot of people have come and gone into my life. My life is almost like a train depot. People come in, they wait, they talk to me, they catch the next train, they're out. Sometimes I'm only there in somebody's life for a season. And sometimes they're only in my life for a season as well. I wanted to talk about other things and not belabor this, but it's come up. A friend of mine who also met me on the YouTube forum, still keeps in touch with me all these years, from California, had sent me a video of a female pastor. And I want to address this because we live in different times. There's big problems in the world. Most people are going, oh, who cares if there's a female pastor, man? America's going down the toilet. Yeah, you're right. But I still believe and I still maintain a woman is not called to be a pastor. The Bible talks about the overseer, the bishops, the overseer. Must be the husband of one wife. He must rule his children well. He, the pronoun he, we're going to get into pronouns here. Must not be given into drunkenness. Must not be a lover of money. Must have a good reputation with outsiders. Notice it doesn't say she. American women come along. And you see it on YouTube, you see it in social media. They're suddenly this expert. And what's really funny in America is a lot of men will get up underneath that. And the reason that that's happened is because a lot of women were screaming and yelling from the 30s on up, 20s, the suffrage movement, ERA. They didn't want to be treated as property, which I understand that. They wanted the right to vote, I understand that. But they have taken this so far that it's permeated the Christian church. It's seriously permeated the Christian church. I talk about Amy Grant because Amy Grant started out as the darling child in the Southern gospel community. She had a song, My Father's Lies, Are You Living in an Old Man's Rubble? Straight Ahead. She had some good, wholesome, people liked her. until she started getting into the Christian rock scene. The old stalwarts of the faith didn't put up with that. Christian rock catapulted her into a whole new realm. Then you have Michael W. Smith and Russ Taft and Stryper and all these other bands that have come and gone over the years. Don't even hear about any of them anymore. They're gone, done, washed up, beached, whale, whatever you want to call it. And I went through the whole Christian music movement. Phil Katie, all of them. David Neese. I listened to all of them. And what is interesting is that those are simply echoes from the past. They're no more. You can find their music on YouTube. There's a group that I still like to this day, and that was Human Condition.
Hello.
And the song is called Here the Morning After. It's one of my favorites. It fits me. And it doesn't make me feel close to God. It was the music style that made me think of the ocean and going on a ship and a storm in the ocean. And it's about stormy weather. And the lyrics are good. I can feel the love that you can bring. I can hear your cry in this stormy weather. It's just, it's a Pacific kind of a song. But I like it because of the music. John Michael Talbot. Father, I put my life in your hands. One of my favorites. Another one is Every Nation on Earth Shall Adore You. I saw John Michael Talbot in concert in Denville High School in Duluth, Minnesota years ago. He was very good. He's pro-Catholic, which I'm not behind that. But he had music that did not follow the narrative of Christian music in his day. He was a monk for a while, or something to do with a hermitage. His music, it can't get any more real than that. Stuff sung out of the Psalms. I can't get into Hillsong and Vineyard and all these movements. One of the problems I had with the church, and I still have a problem with it, is the church is doing the same thing that the world is doing. Whether it's the evening news or the commercials, they're all hurting everybody through the end of a small funnel. And every church has got to have the same music, the same PowerPoint presentation, that same canned, manufactured music 5 minutes before the service starts with the 5 little questions. Where did the Easter Bunny originate? Why is this question being asked on the PowerPoint in the church before service? We shouldn't even be doing Easter Bunny. But then I realized something. I just answered my own question. Why don't I get the views? Because most of America doesn't agree with me. 99.9% to be exact. Does that mean I do not have a message? Does that mean I stop? Does that mean I'm washed up beach whale? No. Jesus had 12 disciples. And you gotta ask yourself some questions about that. You look at women on Facebook. A lot of Filipinas overseas now you cannot become friends with. Things have changed. Filipinos suddenly realized the power of a phone and taking selfies is massive. In a world loaded with porn, in a world of lonely men, in America and Canada and Australia where men are categorically rejected by Caucasian women, guess what? Now they can get online and stare at soft porn. 99 million selfies of somebody from the Philippines and Thailand and wherever. And the girls, instead of being friends with them and interacting with them, now they can have 9,000 followers and get hearts and hearts, and their little adrenal rush that goes on with, ooh, all these people like me. She doesn't care about you. She doesn't care who you are. She has no interest in you. She just likes the likes. I think of the book by Dr. Seuss, Oh, the Thinks That I Can Think. Too bad Dr. Seuss wasn't around with the social media age. Now somebody wants to call them live. Now I'm on YouTube. I'm going to have to call you back. Okay. All right. Bye. Yes, I'm making my dinner. I'm not polished. I don't have bells and whistles. Wrangler Star has an outstanding channel. He has way more views than me. He connects with the macho man. And I respect a lot of what he says. And most of what he says, it's right on. And I'm not here to attack him at all. But I notice in all the comments, all of them, always. And it's with all these big guys, the big ones getting all the views and stuff. It almost becomes it's like protons, neutrons, and electrons. The most charged atom shows up and everybody goes and is drawn up underneath it. And you have to be very careful because even with me, I will never have 50,000 viewers. The most heavy-hitting views that I had, and it would have exceeded that until the trolls got involved and I dumped my channel. When I did the video, Chinese in Hong Kong are rude from Hong Kong, it was netting 1,000 views a week, 100,000 views plus. And that is interesting because that to me was big. Another video, a couple of videos that got views in the 20s and 30,000 was feminism is destroying Western women. And Western women are destroying themselves. Now, and trust me, the women were not talking about this when I did this, but now you can have a Christian woman who's got patriotism all around her, works in the medical field, can talk about feminism, and she's got 50,000 or 40,000 views on a video. But I was groundbreaking to say what I said. Because even though MGTOW was out there, and MGTOW was just starting basically when I was starting, they were talking about things that were dead on truth. They didn't hit it the way I hit it. So what has happened? It's gotten more competitive. There's more people fighting and vying for attention on YouTube. And that's okay. Sometimes I ask myself, am I wasting my time to communicate on the internet? This woman sits in a very, very nice home, nothing like this one. She's earned her money. She's done well. Talking about, God's judgment's going to come. And she says it so casually. And she's telling people to prepare themselves. Let me ask you a question. And Wrangler Star, he's got generators and he lives off the grid. And he prides himself in being fiercely independent. I'm not attacking them. This morning I woke up with some pains. I had worked putting in shiplap on the hall ceiling. Took me the better part of the day, but I got it done. And I pride myself on being able to remodel this house little by myself. But God made me aware of something. And right when I heard Wrangler Star saying, men need to be independent and self-sufficient, I agree with that. But then I thought, what happens if you have a physical calamity and you can't. Our society, and even he himself said this, a man's only worth something if he can produce. And is that the way God sees it? Now, the Bible says if a man will not work, he will not eat. But if while I'm working and I'm getting old and I work and I get hurt and I can't work anymore, yes, I need to throw myself on the mercy of the everlasting God. I pray that God will not allow me to outlive my own usefulness. I pray that God will not let my faculties go where I have to become a burden to somebody else. I don't want to be in a nursing home, but guess what, folks? I don't get to make the choice unless I was to commit suicide or something stupid, which I have no intention of doing. But back to videos, back to YouTubers. Let's be fair. There are some people that would rather listen to other people than they would rather listen to me. I'm guilty of the same. My friend, who I love my friend, I've had her for many years, she found me on YouTube. She sent me this, and she's followed this woman for 14 years. And I started to listen to her, and I have my own problems. I have my own deficits. I don't really listen to a lot of women, female artists. As I told you, I have my own scarring. I have my own dysfunctions. I don't really want to listen to too many women. Ironically, right now, I've been texting back and forth a woman who's a teacher in a public school who has been texting me, and no, there's not an interest there either way. Just a kind woman. Offered me duck eggs, turkey eggs, and guinea eggs if I want them. She has a farm with sheep, her and her husband, and I just found out today she's a Christian, but she's texted me. And with all the people in her life, I thought it was interesting. On my spring break this week, she has texted me, and we've had some interesting conversations. She likes the work I'm doing on the house and asks, why don't you just do that? My problem is I'm very stressful about how to figure out taxes and going into business and pricing and how to do it. And then all this paperwork and mileage reports and paying quarterly. I'd need somebody to manage that if I was even halfway worth my salt. This is good stuff, guys. Quick and easy meal. You get one of these, okay? It's made out of rice flour. Doesn't have all the crap that Kraft mac and cheese has in it. And it's very good. You get one of these, and you steam it in the microwave. And you get 1 can. Where is it? You get a can of tuna, and you dump it all in there, and voila, bachelor goulash. I'm human. I don't get paid for my content. I would never be able to make a living off this. There have been people over the years that have sent me donations, gifts. One man and his wife every year, faithfully for the last few years now, have sent me a tin of nuts right from the state I live in with some of the best cashews and pecans and stuff like that. And I appreciate that. One woman made an Afghan for me. Somebody at work who's a white conservative says, he came to me, I never told him this. He says, if you want to get your channel promoted, there's some things you can do. I said, I'm good. if you want to monetize your channel, you have to be getting a lot of views. A lot. And as an incidental, is anybody getting irritated at Google and what they're doing to YouTube? You want to listen to an old classic song from the 70s or 80s, you click on it, and there's those two ads you can't skip ad, you can't do it. They run the full course of their time. And some of them got an ad that breaks in the middle of a dang song. Is it just me or is Google getting greedy as hell? YouTube never did that. You remember when YouTube started? Let me see. Was it 2006? Hey Siri, what year did YouTube start?
Here's an answer from Business About.
Working hard to find you business solutions. You notice the world is seamless, solutions, logistics, everything's logistics. It's like the secular world around us has those buzzwords, and everybody gets on that. We try to find seamless, logistical solutions. Wow, that just makes me want to just jump for joy. SUV commercials are the dumbest there is. Showing the latest SUV driving across the dust, and some guy that's probably never even ran a push walk behind lawnmower with his suit and tie on is blasting through the dirt thinking he's such a man, starting at $80,000. But you know what? This government keeps doing what it's doing. Who's going to be able to afford a $20,000 vehicle, let alone an 80? But watch what's going on in this country. No matter what is going on in Washington, no matter how many alarm bells go off, my coworkers, oh, I'm going to go get a new car. Oh, I'm going to go do this. We're ripe for something to happen. Ships and jets or fighter jets are headed towards Taiwan. They did that when Pelosi went. Now they're doing it when our speaker went down there. What I'm going to say to you, you can listen to me, you can listen to everybody on there. Getting off the grid isn't going to help you any more than being in the middle of the metro. If the grid, getting off the grid was so wonderful, why aren't there so many people doing it? It's not easy to do. Not only is it not easy, you better have a boatload of money. Because if you're living in Jackson Hole or wherever, you ain't going to be able to grow your food year round unless you have a greenhouse heated and all that. It's always been this pipe dream to get off the grid. I wish I could find a way to heat and cool my house that didn't depend on the modern conveniences. I'd be rich. Think about our body. No natural gas, no electricity, no propane. And our body maintains, what is it, 98.6 degrees. Find out how that works and turn that into a heating system for your house. Think about that. Think about that. It's funny that the body's 98.6. But if I go outside when it's 98 degrees, it is hot. It's too hot for this body. I wish I was smart enough to come up with the next generation of something that changes everything. I believe in downsizing. I believe smaller is better, less is more, and just being content. I look at a lot of these YouTube artists that are sitting in their homes. I'm glad I don't need what they've got. The one woman I'm referring to sits in a house. It's like, boy, that's just boring in there. You bought this overpriced everything that this just doesn't strike my fancy. With her following, she could be getting quite a bit of money on YouTube. I don't know how much. But back to preachers and women. No, women are not supposed to be preachers. Now, what's funny is you have men, even on YouTube, women, men coming and sitting under the feet of these women. And Paul says, I do not permit a woman to teach or have authority over men. And somebody might argue semantically and say, well, Mike, he's just listening to a YouTube video. A woman is going to talk about God and God's word, and you're going to sit under that. I'm not. I'm not chauvinistic. But part of repudiating feminism is telling Christian women, you have no business in that arena. That's not your job. That's not your job to teach me. And I know women would disagree with that till the cows come home. But instead of men being leaders, they become followers. So much so, they'll get behind some guy in Wyoming. They'll get behind a woman instead of being a pioneer for their own life. And the danger of social media, it's a platform that can give any one of us an ego boost. The Bible says God resists the proud. And I'm not saying these YouTube artists are pride or any of that. But when somebody becomes popular, they can start weaving stuff into stuff that's not right. She's talking about churches dying. And people said, oh, that's why I left the church. That's why I left the church. House churches are the best. Really? You know, if we were back in the days of the book of Acts, yeah. But today, what does the person who started a house church believe? Are they doctrinally sound? Are they full of integrity? I'm going to talk about somebody because they're dead and gone now. And I liked this man. I grew to love him, and I was sad when it was found out he was dying of cancer. But when I took care of the property in Colorado, the older man, he had some wacky beliefs. He got caught up in Kabbalah. Kabbalah and Christianity are not compatible. James would not go to church. Would not. He thought he was some spiritual patriarch. He'd start a house church. People come to it for a while. They get tired of listening to James, and on they go. His wife had a Christian woman's club. She was the most cantankerous, argumentative, friction causer I'd ever met. In the 7 years I took care of the estate, she would start crap with me the minute I walked in the door from my regular job of driving a bus. I don't want that saucepan up there in that cupboard. I said, that's where you had it when I moved in. I don't want it up there. Where do you want it? And I'm a neat, clean person. I mean, stuff like I'd come home on a Monday night. I cleaned this whole house for Christian Women's Club. I said, man, I've been keeping this place clean. Well, don't make a mess on the stove. I said, I never do. Yes, you did. You got stuff all over the microwave. I walked over and I said, Ann, I pushed one button on that microwave, the one that says potato. You come here and make your cookies and get dough all over your hands and you glob the whole front door of that thing. I have to wipe it off. In fact, when I come home from work, I clean this kitchen almost nightly, including the stacks of dishes and things all over the counter, the island, and all over the stove that I'm using. I don't make the mess. Oh, you're so perfect. Man, that's not what this is about. I'm coming home to cook my dinner and you got to berate me the second I put a saucepan on the... She turned the flame up and the stuff's going... I came home one day from work. The whole house stunk. I walked into the kitchen and there were exploded hard-boiled eggs all over the place. I walked into her bedroom. I said, what happened in the kitchen? And I had a big old grin on my face. She goes, oh, I forgot the eggs were boiling and the water went off and they blew up. And guess who cleaned it? This happened a lot. Nobody's perfect. Nobody. But she did this to her husband every day of their married life. She did it to her kids. She did it to me. The family had a meeting with her, the siblings, and said, if you drive Pacific out of the house, you are going into a nursing home. We're going to put this place up for sale. Pacific has done nothing to you but help you. You're not going to treat him the way which you treated us, Mom. You're mean. The three sons told her that. The daughter told her that. The daughter came in the day after Thanksgiving and went on a screaming mission. I had come home. Well, I was in the kitchen and the daughter's husband was in the living room. He saw me and I looked out and I went, because the yelling started. I said, what's going on in there? He smiled. He says, my wife is finally letting her mother have it after all these years because she can't deal with it anymore. I said, good for her. She didn't believe in going to church. A hailstorm would come in, pea-sized hail. She'd stand at the back windows of the sunroom in the house yelling. I'd say, what are you saying? I'm rebuking the hail in the name of Jesus. I said, man, it's not doing any good. I said, this is part of Colorado, man. And you know why she did that? Because she had their potted plants. Not tons of them. She stressed out over her flowers getting ruined by the hail. I said, wow, Ann. I said, people's cars get damaged. 2000, let me figure this out. 2016 or 17? 17. The old man had passed away. I'm in my bus down at West High School and I see the blackest cloud I've ever seen. I get out of my bus. I said to the other drivers, I said, look at that. Towards the Rocky Mountains. I said, that is dark. That doesn't look good. A few minutes later, I heard a driver on the radio call up at Colfax Elementary, which is just up the hill from us, not that far. And as he's talking, I hear, I'm getting golf ball sized hail on the bus. And I went out and I said, drivers, I said, all our cars, my truck, it's all out in that wide open parking lot. And this stuff's falling at Colfax Elementary, just right up street from the terminal. There was a Mexican woman named Kristen. She claimed to be a Christian, but there was something not right. She runs out of her bus when she hears that and she goes, really? Oh, good. I hope God brings judgment down. I hope he destroys everything. Yes. I don't know why I didn't say, you got issues, lady. The kids started to come out of the school. They stayed. Didn't get the golf ball size, but we had good grape size. It filled the streets, looked like snow, covered everything. The rain came down with it. It plugged the storm drains. We had rivers of water all over the place. When we finally got the kids on the bus, I'm driving through water and snow and sliding on ice balls everywhere. Tree branches stripped of leaves. Cars all pinged up. As I get down with my routes that afternoon and drive home, I go by the Porsche and Audi dealership. All the windows of the cars broken and shattered. I'm like, oh my gosh. Nothing had happened to my truck. My topper got fine little pings all over, but not the truck. No broken glass. I get out to the property I managed. The rental next door, all the skylights were broken. The roof was destroyed. Like, oh my gosh, I got to get tarps over all the broken skylights. The skylight over the kitchen and the house of the lady and her husband. The front window was broken. The bedroom window was broken. The bird bath broke. The glass table in the backyard shattered. It was a mess. It was a year before we could get a roofer to come and repair all the roofs. Actually redo them all. It was the largest, single most worst hail cost damage to the state of Colorado. Lakewood, Wheat Ridge, Arvada, parts of Denver. Tons of money. It destroyed one of the malls, busted all the skylights, all the rainwater fell and ruined the hardwood floors. It was shut down from, was it April or May, all the way to November before they could get it up and running again. Hundreds of people out of a job. When I go through life, I've seen a lot of weird stuff. One of the things I learned to do is read body language of people. If a person does not look you in the eyes, and I'm not talking about hostile, they cannot look you in the eyes, don't trust them. If people give you excuses why they don't text back, and then a week goes by and they say, you haven't texted me, and I'm going, I asked you a question, you never answered it, and I figured you were busy. Why do women do that? I don't know. As a sidebar, My cousin called me today. We both lived in Mammoth Lakes, California, many years ago. And my dad hated snow. Moved to Mammoth, but hated the snow. He didn't have to remove it. I did. The roof of a cathedral ceiling house, the driveway, the deck. We got 20 to 40 feet of snow in the wintertime. I remember March came and I loved the snow back then. My dad says, no, we're not going to get much snow this year. They're saying the weather patterns. And I couldn't stand my dad's hatred of the snow. I wasn't close to him. I never bonded with him. There was some real tension there where I didn't respect him. I respected that he went to work every day, but my dad and I were polar opposites. I'm lean, mean, high energy. My dad he was a good worker in the insurance world, but he was overweight. He smoked. He'd make fun of me for eating a lot of food, would put me down. And I had a discussion this year. Mammoth Lake's got 700 inches of snow. That's over 50 feet. But when my dad had said, this would have been 1982, 83, no, we're not going to get much snow. And I said, man, I hope it snows 50 feet. And I walked down the stairs and I told my cousin, I saw him that week, and he goes, man, he says, you said that to your dad? I said, yeah. And he remembers when I came out to Washington in 2008. He says, remember when you told your dad you hope it snowed 50 feet? And I said, yeah, I was kind of a butt. I called him today and I said, do you remember when I told my dad I hope it snows 50 feet? And he started laughing. He says, yeah. He says, you ought to call him now and say, guess what? Mammoth got 50 feet of snow. I said, well, it's a little late, but yeah. People listen to who they want to listen to. I'm not the one who gets to say whether somebody should be on YouTube or not. But I asked myself, how come I don't get all the views? Not all. That's not the right. How come I don't get more? Because I'm what's called a niche market. People that are used to plastic, people that are used to professionalism and glossed over stuff. And, I'm not the who's who out there. Even some of my trolls, one of them went on to have a successful channel. I don't listen to any of it. He got 50,000 subs, and the sneeze never came. He's way more successful than I am. And I tried to listen to his content, and it's like Charlie Brown's teacher. Number one, he and I don't have the same interests. Number two, he's living a life outside of God. So he looks at everything from a whole different world perspective. But what about Christians? Well, I've already said I don't fit in the Christian church. I went to church this morning. The church I go to is mostly black. Our regular preacher was out, and the guy who comes in when he's gone talked about the resurrection, did a good job. Very theatrical, very passionate. I liked that. Good message. He is not here. He is risen, just as he said. I can't base my right or wrongness on a following. What I have noticed on a media level, Oprah Winfrey has a huge crowd of fans. She's also an unsaved soul. She's denied that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. You have Christians that'll start a movement, and everybody gets behind them. And when everybody gets behind them, they automatically assume, well, look what God has done. I work with a black woman who believes you can speak your faith into existence. my truck went in for a head gasket. They had it tied up a week. Guys waiting for parts. And I said to her, I said, gosh, I hope my truck's ready tonight. I can't even go downtown. I can't do anything without it. Oh, it'll be ready. Just speak as those things as if though they are. I said, hey, that's not the way this works. Oh, yes, it does. She's very bombastic, and she's got an unhealthy mix of feminism and her Democrat partiness coupled with her Christianity. And that's a messy situation, as you know. And it was not ready Friday. It wasn't ready until late Saturday night. She never once said, I'm sorry, I was wrong. What is the barometer of what is truth? Does it line up with the Word of God? Now, I've been freely honest with everybody. I've liked things, sin, and said it's not biblical. And you've got some people that give the illusion of being righteous or perfect, and they don't struggle with the things I struggle with, and it's human nature. Churches preach to the choir. They'll preach against certain things that the church isn't even guilty of, and they'll whelp on it. But will they confront their own congregation of their own narcissism, materialism? And the woman in her channel talks about we're too comfortable. And she's got that right. I've been saying it for years. Yeah, it's not wrong to have material goods. They're just material. Okay, yeah. I'm a minimalist now. When I was in a bad marriage, I collected stuff. I worried about my stuff. When I chose to divorce and leave that woman, I got rid of most of that stuff. After that divorce, I wanted experiences and God. And I went on another rabbit trail goose chase to a woman from the Philippines that lived and worked in Hong Kong, and that was an explosion. In America, you're not going to be popular if, as a Christian, you have made mistakes. Or let's just say you sinned. You got a lot of white women in American cultural Christianity. They're very self-righteous. You got white women out there. Oh, if a guy masturbates, I won't even date him. Oh, so now you're going to run around and ask, do you masturbate? You have Christians that say, well, Job says, I made a covenant with my eyes. Well, that's great. Job did that. But how many women love to read the Song of Solomon and love the Proverbs? Solomon was a dang pig. 700 wives, 300 concubines. Oh, well, those were mostly political marriages. No, he couldn't keep his britches on, ladies. It says that Solomon's women turned him after other gods. Now, no woman's going to turn me after other gods, but let me make it very clear. Women have turned me away from my devotion to God. They've caused me to compromise because I let them do it. And this is where men need to take the reins of that wild horse called a woman and say, We men got to stop saddling up on these women and letting them take us where they want to go. And if you look at U.S. dating culture, if you look at even Christian dating culture, and you look at women in the Christian church and evangelical Christian churches today, they're at the head of their home. They'll tell you that their husband's head, BS. They're all about promoting themselves. Social media has given them a platform. It goes straight to their head. They think that everything they say is dripping with finesse, to quote the song that I hear at the club. I see it all day long in the club when I go in there in the evening. I see it in the streets. American women have a problem. They're not humble. And YouTube gave the rise to, oh, I can do anything. Does it mean you should? I don't know. I remember in Hong Kong, I rented from my friend for 2 months. In 2012, on Lantau in the village of Moi Wah. She had a 2-bedroom flat on the bottom floor. She was a hairstylist, hair salon owner in central Hong Kong. In the morning, I get up, cook my breakfast, eat it, hit the shower, and out the door, catch the ferry and go do my videos in Kowloon Park, Victoria Park, excuse me. Go to the library to upload them through their internet. She come out one morning and she said, Michael, why you eat out of the pot? I was eating my oatmeal. Guys, this is my breakfast. I cook it, I eat it, I wash it, it's done. Michael, all these windows, the people across, they can see you, they think you're savage. And nobody's going to think I'm a savage. Just tell them I'm a single guy and I just do efficiently. Why get out fancy plates and everything? As long as you live in my house, don't eat out of the pot. Yes, ma'am. She was not older than me. So if I got up in the morning and she wasn't awake, I'd cook my oatmeal and I'd be in the kitchen. If I heard her coming, I'd spoon it into a bowl real quick. Pacific, man. Wrangler star's good. But let me say something. Because of what I've been through in life, I tend to feel less than. And I have to always tell myself, you reach people that Wrangler's going to never reach. You reach people that this woman is never going to reach. Don't compare yourself to them and them to you. I'm sure if Wrangler Star met me, he probably wouldn't want to be friends with me because I am not like him. There'd be some overlap. But you see the way I am. I'm different as all get out. I do things just to push the envelope. Sometimes I just like to be sexy. Sometimes I like to be funny. You get some of these YouTube artists in their crowd, Mark Dice, turd flinging monkeys, they're all good guys. They're not going to feel comfortable around me. But I've never felt comfortable around men. I value male friendships. But I grew up in a family with women, 3 sisters, dominant women in the family, always biatching about their husbands. Their husbands who went to work and provided them the stay-at-home life that they so wanted. The only one that did not complain about her husband was my aunt. She loved him. You got women in church, out of church that think when they open their mouth, thus saith God. You want to be friends with a woman like that, feed her ego. How to win friends and influence people is really, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Get them to talk about themselves. You know, we men try to offer this or that. Women will come and bleed all over us. Oh, and all they want you to do is sit there and just shut up and listen. I had a situation I'm going to share with you because it's funny. It's a Puerto Rican woman that I met here in the area, 33 years old. I'm 57, so she's 24 years younger than me. Not bad looking at all. 3 kids. She comes over to my house. We had texted back and forth. She comes over here because I'm not done with the house and I don't have furniture all over. I gave her the tour and took her to my room. I have a futon in there. I said, you can sit on the futon. I'm going to sit on the bed. You can sit by me or you can sit over there. It's up to you. I gave her a hug when she arrived in her vehicle. Didn't do anything inappropriate. She had been brutally raped. Somebody broke into the back window of her apartment in a complex. It has 94 cameras. Caught the black man with dreadlocks breaking into her place. He tried to deny it, and he sat there in the courtroom while she testified and laughed at her every time she got up to give testimony. The guy had no conscience at all. They gave him 2 life sentences plus 10 years or 20 years. She come over to my house. It's all open here except for some 2-inch by 2-inch crisscross spider webbing design. You can see the side and the bottom of her breast. I mean, I'm a man. I'm looking going, okay, I'm ready for this. Biologically, your engine's going, vroom. But I'm not like most guys. Wow, nice tits. I didn't do any of that. She pointed at my spiritual books. She'd asked based on my Facebook, are you kinky? I said, no. I said, oh, you mean this? I said, I'm just being sexy. I'm into women, though. She goes, no, no, I wasn't thinking you were into men. And we texted a few days after that. She liked seeing the house, and then she fell off. A week went by. I'm sorry, my phone was broken or wasn't working. Oh, I'm glad you got your phone fixed. How are you doing? Then nothing for 3 days. And the way I operate, men, is I don't keep doing. Okay, she's not responding to one question. I'm not going to say anything again. I believe in ping pong. I serve the ball to you, and if that ball goes over there and just drops on the end of the table and rolls onto the floor, I'm not going to pick it up. You got to pick up that ball. This is part of not being a simp. This is part of a man being a man and saying, you want to answer my question? We resume. If you don't, I take that as a sign you're not interested in texting. You found another distraction. C'est la vie. I had a whole week off. And at the head of this week, she asked me, you're off for the whole week? I said, yeah. Then she starts talking to me, you confuse me. I said, what do you mean? Well, I come over to your house and you say I'm beautiful, but you don't do anything. I said, what do you mean don't do anything? She said, well, you're a man. A man's supposed to make the first move. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, you've been raped. You were married. You had men cheat on you. You think I'm going to go up and start groping you and touching you? I said, I wondered why you came to my house dressed the way you dress. You say that's your style. But with all that you've been through, I mean, inside, biologically, my hormones are raging and screaming. You're showing your breasts. I mean, yeah, I'm feeling it. But I'm a gentleman. I'm not going to walk up and start petting you or doing stuff like that. Games. Stupid little games. And I said, God, I really don't need this. I mean, I'm a man. I'm a pig. But I am a Christian. I don't need another trip down some chick's shirt. What I need is a woman that I can invest in. This, you got 3 kids. This ain't going to work. 57 years old, and they're little kids. No. Plus, with Puerto Rican culture, a lot of the drama, the emotionalism. I'm not going to do real good with all that. See, it's weird. I lived in northern Minnesota, and I used to be all into that. And there's certain things in Minnesota that call me back to it, but I wouldn't live up there. I hate to say it, but my own white culture sometimes is really depressing. You go up to northern Minnesota, and people stand and stare at a 90-degree angle away from each other. Oh, yeah, pretty cold out, Bob. Yeah. Say, walleye season's about to start. Okay, if you want to have those conversations and live that way, go for it. I'm an oddball. There were things I liked about Minnesota. There's things I like about Georgia. But the truth is, the older I get, I find that this world is not my home. Did you hear that? I'm a Christian. And because of the level of depthness of things that I've been through, you got a lot of Christians down here in the South. They grew up in the same family. They got all these family ties. They got all this stuff. They love the world around them. In fact, some of them said, I don't want to go to heaven. I want to see my grandbabies grow up. Man, girl, you go right ahead. If God told me I had 6 months left, I'd be like, whee, sweet. I don't have a suicide wish, but if God opens the door for me to leave soon, if he's coming back, Maranatha, come Lord Jesus. When I watch our government, when I watch what's going on, when I watch what's happened to women, and Wrangler Starr even said, American women are undateable. He's absolutely right. You want to date some know-it-all on YouTube that's got 40,000, 50,000 people sitting at her feet listening to her? That's not going to be a marriage that's going to go well for you men. She's an expert. She's a star. Watch out. But we have to be careful about being extreme. Men need to be independent. I told a guy at the nightclub one night, I said, look, you need to go get yourself a job. You come up asking me for food, you ask people for beer, cigarettes, and then you get mad when they say, no, you need to go get yourself a job. You live with your sister and you want to date this girl, go get a job, get an apartment. You know, black man stronger than me, 33 years old, and he won't go get a regular job. Mooches. I've bought him dinners before. I've paid for games and pool, but I just stopped. Bible says a man will not work. He will not eat. And guess what we do in America? Everybody feels so sorry for the homeless, panhandling all day long. Go get a damn job. You got muscles more than I do. Man, go to day labor, man. They could use your butt. If you don't like doing that, prove yourself a time and go get hired on with somebody. Right now, jobs abound. You may not like what you got, but I told somebody, even if it's minimum wage, you got so much money in the bank, go get a job. It'll control how much money goes over the top of the dam out of your reservoir. To have money coming in will slow down the spill. As you better yourself, then you can start filling back up the reservoir. But people aren't thinking that way today. But back to the YouTube thing. I'll never have 50,000 views. Never. The only way I would is if I was to get into, say I was able to get into North Korea and do a live video from there. Oh, boom! The whole world will be watching that mess. This white guy just got in North Korea and he's showing us the interior. Who wouldn't want to see what's going on? I'd like to see the people. Far from Kim Jong-un. But yes, birds of a feather flock together. And it's easy to say, well, she's a Christian, they respect her Christian beliefs. Of course they do. But these are the same kind of people are probably not going to feel comfortable in church. They're not going to accept me. They're not going to value my wisdom or my insight to anything. They're going to look at me and marginalize. Am I just saying that? No. Body language. Conditioned response. Today is Easter Sunday. I don't call it Easter. This is Resurrection Day. And I say, Happy Resurrection Day. He is risen. And why Christians in the church and females more than anybody else love to call it Easter, say Easter. They like the bunnies and the eggs. Okay, stop right there. Even Christian women celebrate pagan traditions. Christian women. And just because you got 50,000 people listening to your channel doesn't mean you're walking lockstep in sound doctrine, sound teaching, and the Holy Spirit. You could be walking in your culture. And those that are walking in that same culture love you. But when you're different, when you're peculiar, when you're out of step with the world around you, even the Christian world, you ain't going to get 50, 60, 70,000 views and have 514,000 subs. You're not going to have it. And I watch people doing this to various YouTube artists. They quote scripture. They say things, oh, God is clearly using you. Oh, you're good. Oh, and comment after comment, hundreds of comments. One even saying, praise Yah. That's why when I go to church and I hear pastors say, can I have an amen? And a lady will come up and give the announcements and everybody starts clapping when she's done. Are they clapping because they're sick of announcements and glad she's done? No, we got churches that clap for everything now. I don't join that. There would be a sound in a doctor's office. They didn't experiment it. I don't remember it too well, but like a buzzer would go off and everybody get up out of their seat and move to a different location. And they watched a man or woman, they did an experiment where a person didn't know what was going on, would watch this, and as soon as the buzzer, after they saw this a few times, that person would start getting up and move to another seat. Human condition is easily manipulated by peers. And you can have 50, 60, 70,000 people agreeing with you. Why aren't they making this channel? Why is it everybody comes into this fuel depot? Even me, when I first got going, there is a certain amount of headiness that comes to it. And I never had anything like these people had. 3,500 subs. That was a big deal to me. 3,500 people listening to my content. Now you got white women in the US, 50, 60,000, 514,000 subs. I'm like, whoa, blow me out of the toilet. But is what she's saying, is any of what we're saying changing anything? There are two people that have personally thanked me. They said because of my channel, one is in Canada and one's somewhere else in the US. Said because of you, I went and got me a wife from the Philippines and I am happy. I got tired of American women. There are people that feel good about themselves after they found my channel. I had people sharing with me. You were the first guy I saw that was so vocal about the Christian faith and not ashamed. Even when people were insulting you, you did not back up. Atheists would tell me, I like your content. Could you stop talking about God? I said, how can I do that? God is part of my life, and I don't just compartmentalize him out of it. So Amy Grant, she was catapulted into popularity when she compromised her ways. She soared to the top, and in the last part of her years, you saw her suddenly leaning backwards over a rock. Let me call you back. I'm finishing up a YouTube. All right, thank you. Bye. Let's see here. And that's understandable. That's too bad he has to go through all that suffering. Sounds like you had a good dinner and had a good day, and thank you for the compliments on my house. I appreciate it. And yes, I like his music very much. A lot of his songs have that same kind of cadence. It's very soulful. In the last 3 years of my life, I have really had some anger come out of me. When I was a kid and I'd go home to do my homework didn't make sense. You guys remember that? Anybody remember? I'm not talking about the nerds and the geeks that they just aced everything. But it's kind of like the question of Tommy has 6 eggs. 2 were broken. 2 were fried. And 2 he gave away. How many eggs does Tommy have? I'm not even going to answer that. That's just stupid. Because no matter what answer I say, it's wrong. And I would get these questions. What was the point that Tom was trying to make in the story when he had the conversation with Sally? What is this talking about? He didn't have a conversation with Sally. He said, Sally, look. That's it. And I found that homework was very hard. I'd go and ask my parents for help. Oh, yeah, didn't get anywhere. And when I'm working on this house and you get these screws and you get the number 2 bit and you put the screw in and you got the bit's brand new and you're pressing my tiny body against that drill and it starts stripping out the screw and you're like, why is this doing this? So then I went to the hex screws. The hex screw almost gets in, the top of the screw just breaks off. What is going on? The 2x4s in my house are petrified. You'd think with all the moisture in Georgia. Same in Minnesota when I screwed into the old frame of that old house in Minnesota with all, oh no, that wood becomes stone, pine. You just should have seen me trying to do that. I did 1x6s. Then I learned the other room I did 1x4s. The 1x6s, I found the joist, and I did it by experiment. Take a nail, pink, pink. Nope, that's not it. Pink, pink. Nope, that's not it. Pink, there it is. Now draw a line straight down. Pink, there it is. And I had to reference all that out. Then I put my boards across this way. 3-inch screws. I tried 3.5. Wasn't going to happen. It was breaking off the heads. So I did 3-inch. I'm telling you, I had shoulder or chest pains from doing that. It took me forever. This wasn't done in a day. This was done over the course of time. The knotty pine in the ceiling went easy. But then you get down to this end where they're 10-foot lengths and the old house is settled and the ceiling just a little bit of this, and you're trying to stand on a ladder by yourself in the middle of the length of the board, and you're trying to tuck it in. Yeah, there was a lot of cussing and bad stuff that flew out of my face. You get one end, you get your left end in, and you try to put the right foot in, and then the left end pops out, and you're doing the hokey pokey, and you really want to shout. Every single thing that I've done on this house has been a nightmare. Yesterday, I was in the hall ceiling. I know which way the joists go. So I went up into the closet, went to the trap door, looked with the flashlight. I'm like, great. How come there's no members going this way? And I went outside in the hallway on a ladder and I sounded it. Boom, 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 boom. No studs. So I drove a nail on the side. Okay, I hit something. I go a couple inches further. Nope. Go to the other side. Nope. Then I went down to the other end of the hall. And I remember there was a seam of old tape and plaster, mud and texture. Let's try that. Tink, tink, boom. Okay. Now, these aren't 12-inch on, these aren't 16-inch on centers. What a joist. 24, 25. Let's go 24 inches up. Ting, ting, ting. Nope. Ting, ting, ting. Nope. Ting, ting. There it is. Measure it. 24 inches. I had to do that all the way down to the hall. I took a felt marker, went, drew a black line on either side of the hall. I took my 1x4s, slapped them up there right where the line is. 3 inches. Now I had furring strips to attach the shiplap to. Take out the lamps, make sure I've got enough electrical cord to run down and through. They've got the junction box. Yeah, all curled up in there, but they had the hanger for the light. It wasn't even in use. And I took the long screws out, took the hanger down, ran the cord through the middle hole so that the insulated wires coming down through the middle hole. Zip the screws back up, drill a hole in the next piece of shiplap where it's supposed to be, run that out, pull the wiring through, fasten that, and then hook up the light and the leads, the positive and negative. There are some things that go easy for me. There's some things that don't. And I have blown a gasket, thrown things, yelled at the top of my lungs. I thought, can you imagine if you had a wife in here? Can you imagine if you had a white woman in this house? Oh my gosh, you got anger management. Oh my gosh. It should be making my life worse just being in here. I'm glad I get to work on this and show all my ugliness just between me and God. And there's times I've yelled at God. I said, how come there are Christians out there that just everything just goes right for them all the time? An employee that I work with brags it was her birthday. It's my birthday today. You going to give me something? I said, man, why do you do that? That's our culture. That's not my culture. And I did get her something. The African-American one. She gets on the phone, and I hear her talking to her. You better send me $100 to my Cash App, girl. You know it's my birthday. She went up to every driver in the lot. Today's my birthday. Here's my Cash App number. She bragged to me all through the day. I got $1,000. I got $1,000. I said, man, I don't even want to hear it. And I posted a question on Facebook. I said, this is what happened. Didn't mention names. I said, Can you guys weigh in on this? Guess what? White men and white women all agreed with me. That is tacky. That is wrong. That is belligerent. That's that give me handout culture. That's what I'm surrounded by now. A black culture that does not think like me, and I don't think like it. Now, not all blacks are this way. And I've had to learn. You can get on YouTube and somebody has a hell of a following. Does it mean I'm not as godly as them because I can't listen to this artist? You know, some women are good at being dramatic, but it gets old. The way they talk, their mannerisms, it's like, you know what? That's getting on my nerves. I'm checking out. There's nothing wrong with that. If people get puffed in their own mind because they got 50,000 people eating out of their hand, well, that pretty much tells you where things are at. Even me, if I have 50,000 people watching me and telling me what a superstar I am, take heed lest you fall. You want to know how to test a person? How do they handle compliments and praise? How do they handle criticism? What if Pacific was to go on there and said, you know what? You know, you got some good points here, but watch how they handle that. But watch their fans more than anything else. Oh, you come in here and say this. Oh, everybody likes her. Oh, so therefore everybody's right and I'm wrong. You got to be careful. God sent prophets to the Jewish leaders back in the day, and they said, who is this rabbler? Throw him in a well. You cannot gauge your success based on the opinions of others. What I am going to tell you is a lot of things that I've learned over the years is that when you are a Christian, when you're a child of God, and God is really trying to get your attention, you're going to go through the fire. When everything's going good for you and you've got all the material comfort, you got 50,000 people eating out of your hand, you're probably very superficial overall. YouTube is called that for a reason. YouTube. Pacific Tube. This person tube. I talk because I like to talk, and I don't do it for money. I wish I could get paid. I wish I could get paid enough to leave my work. But God's using me with the lives of others being in there. I don't know why he's got me stuck in there. I don't know why, because I'll never make big money. And now I'm having people constantly tell me, you need to do home remodel because I know a lot of people hire you. And I said, yeah, but here's the problem. I don't feel comfortable going to somebody's house. I'm not a professional. Oh, yep, I can do this in 2 hours. How much are you going to charge me? I don't know. How much is it going to cost for materials? I don't know. I got to research all that. I'm not one of these businessmen that can sit down and say, well, this is how much lumber I need. This is how much it's going to cost. That kind of stuff bogs me down. Why don't you just tell me what you want? Well, the pictures of what you did, I want that on my wall. I said, okay, there's one problem. You're not going to get this anymore. That's 1950s knotty pine that I salvaged out of the house. But we can do that with the new knotty pine, which is nowhere near the character of this, but we can put a stain on it, wait for the stain to dry, which is going to take some time, like days and weeks, and then we could hit it with 3 coats of varnish. Or I can build the wall and show you how to stain and finish it off myself. That way I'm not in your house every day. Somebody wants me to paint their brick house. Another one wants me to do all their eaves. Somebody else wants me to put in a window. Somebody had asked me a couple of years ago about shoring up a support on the front porch. And I said, now that I'm a little nervous about, because you start messing with those old houses and you got rot. If the front porch is sagged and you go to jack that up, things could break, especially if it's sat for years. If it's recent, you can jack it up, take the pillar out, replace it. But what if the pillar is old hollow wood? I mean, you can't. My problem is I don't want to put myself out there and get myself in a situation that makes a homeowner mad, and I'm not licensed, bonded, and insured for that. And then taxes. Pay quarterly. I got to keep receipts, keep records. My mileage, my odometer in my truck doesn't work, so that's a problem. There's too much stress with being a private entrepreneur. It'd be different if I could just invent something, patent it, trademark it, and earn millions of dollars. Then I get an accountant and a manager and say, help me run this thing. But anyways, this video more than anything was about, it's easy for me to want to compare myself and think, man, I must not be doing good because I'm never going to get all those views. And let's be honest. Both those channels I mentioned, their fans are not going to come in and listen to this. First of all, some of my videos have too much profanity in them. You got those kind of Christians that are going to go, man, he calls himself a Christian. He's not quite as righteous as we. And you got that crowd out there too. Most of my friends that I met through the YouTube world are not perfect. They're cracked pots, just like I am. They're not going to listen in on some of these other channels because they just, no, that's not for me. So anyways, happy Resurrection Day, everybody, and thank you for listening. This is Pacific signing off.